Hello.
Hello.
Hi, we're from ShinyShiny Tech Digest, obviously. And we're here to talk about Skype, aren't we?
We are.
From the beginning. Basically, Skype is a voice over IP service, which means that you can make phone calls over the internet if you have broadband, obviously, not dial-up. Would never be fast enough. So yes, and you know, free calls, everyone loves free calls.
Absolutely.
In the past, it has been a case of plugging a phone into your USB port, and so you're sitting at your computer using the phone. But this has all changed in recent years, hasn't it?
Yes.
Recent years? In recent months, probably. It's a very simple program that you download onto your computer. You could then create a Skype name, and you can talk. Oh, sorry, Skype is one of the voice over IP services, and you create yourself a name. You can then contact other people that are also using Skype. You can also buy something called a Skype-in number, which basically gives you a telephone number, and then people can contact you. So in theory, you could completely get rid of your landline. They recommend that you don't in case of emergencies, because if you need to dial 999 and something goes wrong, it's much better to have a reliable landline. So, you know, there's two sides to every story. Now, what have we got here?
We've got a range of Skype phones, so starting with the original kind of USB, hook it up to your computer, use for simple Skype phones, which is obviously the most budget choice.
So you're tethered to your computer.
You are tethered to your computer, and if you've got something like a Skype-in number because you've got an international business or something like that, not particularly useful. But if you're only going to call it to make the odd free phone call to a relative in the States or something, you're going to be on the computer anyway.
Yes.
The most sensible choice.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay, and how much do we know how much this one is?
This one is £30.
Okay, so that's a very reasonable option if you're getting started with Skype.
We've then got two, I mean, they're very similar, these two. Those are two cordless ones.
This one and this one, yeah.
The reason I've got the Philips here is because they were the first to bring us, at least in this country, a cordless Skype phone that doubles up as a normal landline as well.
Which is fantastic.
And that's the voice over IP 841 model.
I really like this one because it actually brings up all your contacts, tells you whether they're online, things like that, and it's got a very similar interface to what you'd find if you actually were using Skype on your computer. So it's unlikely to scare anyone, particularly even like my mother isn't Skype friendly yet, but you know, this looks enough like a phone and works like a phone so that actually you'd all be happy using it.
Exactly. If you do want other people in the family to be using it and they're not so confident, these are a good way to go. And also because it's cordless, you know, the sensible thing is you can wander around the house while you're using it.
So this is just something that you plug into your router, isn't it?
Exactly.
And you stick in your landline thing in as well. Cool.
And they're roughly the same price. I mean, that one's £90, this one's £100.
Right.
So, I mean, they're really much of a muchness. It just depends on whether you feel more comfortable with perhaps Philips branding because it's something the first one out there, or whether you...
And they're all Skype-accredited is the other thing I should
are.
say, which means that Skype have looked at them and they're happy that they work well with their service.
I mean, this really isn't all that much different from the two on either side of it because, again, you're talking about Skype and a normal landline. Obviously, this one's a corded number.
Yeah.
This one I included in the roundup because I quite like the idea of giving this to somebody who perhaps has some visual impairment because the buttons are absolutely huge, as is the screen.
Enormous,
I mean, it does look like one of those 80s prototype video phones, doesn't it?
Yes. It looks a bit like that thing that they use in Sir Alan Sugar's thing. They've got their video, their Amstrad video phone. Yes.
Exactly. But I mean, I just think giving this to somebody who's perhaps elderly and getting to grips with it, or, you know, even someone younger who just finds little fiddly buttons difficult.
I would love to see my grandmother talking on Skype. That would
cool.
make my year. Okay, and sorry, that one is how much?
That one's £110, so that's actually the most expensive one, despite the fact that it looks the least kind of elaborately techie.
So you've got to make a decision. You're going to save money on phone calls. Are you going to spend your savings on a decent phone?
Absolutely.
I think you should. Brilliant, so there we go. Those are your options. There are many, many more, but these are some of your options should you be interested in getting on Skype.